storyline is this is the year of the quarterback in the state of Florida. Miami has Derek King coming back. Florida's got Emory Jones taking over the Gators offense. Florida State might have the return of Mackenzie Milton, one of the great sports return stories ever. And UCF has the best quarterback of them all in Dylan Gabriel. So this is quarterback U in the state of Florida.
Absolutely.
It got me thinking, Stefan, as these storylines are plush and the talent is overflowing, who is the best quarterback ever in the state of Florida? Now, coming up with a number one was difficult. And then I originally thought, when I came up with this topic in my mind, I'm going to go old school radio and we're going to do a Mount Rushmore. And then I couldn't get settled on 4. So then I was like, I'll do a top 5. Top 5 turned into top 10. And here we are, the 10 greatest quarterbacks in the history of college football inside the state of Florida. Now, my ranking takes into account talent, stats, and achievements.
Okay.
I kind of mix them up in a bowl, and then I serve it up.
And they all have equal weight on talent, stats, and achievement, or is there one that you're weighing a little bit heavier than the other?
Achievement would be at the top of the list.
I think that's fair. I was hoping you would say that.
But I would say talent is kind of like the seasoning. You don't want to sleep on it, but is it the most important part of the meal? No, but it is. All of these are important ingredients.
All right, who you got for me?
Number 10, I've got Jim Kelly from the Miami Hurricanes.
Very solid pick.
Anytime you have Jim Kelly at number 10 on the list, you know that your list is about to be really, really strong. Jim was the pioneer on the field of what the Miami Hurricanes did and what overall what they would become. He's the best quarterback on the list, period. If you're talking about overall ability throughout his entire football career, nobody on this list put together a more impressive resume from top to bottom. Now, I'm only talking about what they did in college, but if you're expanding it beyond that, Jim Kelly would be number 1 on this list, but instead, he's number 10. Kelly would finish his career at Miami, completing 376 of 676 passes, over 5,000 yards passing, 32 touchdowns, and 28 interceptions. Jim Kelly kind of started it all for the Miami Hurricanes. At number 9, I've got another Miami Hurricane. If Jim Kelly started it, it was Bernie Kosar who kicked it into gear.
Of course,
for the Hurricanes.
I'm expecting there to be 9 Miami Hurricanes on this list.
We're about to run out of Hurricanes, so don't get too upset or hung up on that. Now, he will go down as the quarterback, the first of the 5 Miami Hurricanes that would win national championships, and that back in 1983. So the fact that he did that first, it was Jim Kelly that kickstarted the movement of the Miami Hurricanes, and it was Bernie Kosar that put the official stamp of "We are here." The U is back is something that Miami Hurricanes fans say now.
Yeah, they're back right now.
Here is something they said when Bernie Kosar was the quarterback. So I have him at number 9. At number 8, I've got Dante Culpepper from the UCF Knights.
Such an important person to have on this list.
Big time. He elevated the UCF program from an average 1AA program to a noteworthy FBS program, Division I, on the verge of a top 25 ranking by the time he left, which was unheard of for the UCF Knights at that time. So you talk about greatness and influence. He had it. Over 9,000 yards passing, 72 touchdowns scored in 3 seasons. Dante Culpepper was a mammoth for this program.
Such a beast, man. Golly, I'm starting to think and remember about those days with Dante Culpepper as a UCF Golden Knight, and he was a beast on the field then.
Absolutely. It's just a shame that UCF wasn't a bigger deal when it happened, because he was a great college football player that put UCF on the map. It would have been even better had they already been on the map and UCF was kind of where they are now. Could you imagine if today they had somebody that was like that, which I guess in some ways they do. Dylan Gabriel's amazing, but Dante Culpepper was kind of larger than life.
Oh, yeah.
He was just built different than everybody else. At number 7, I've got Jameis Winston from the Florida State Seminoles. If not for the controversy that he stirred up at FSU, he would be much higher on this list. Talent-wise, he's off the charts. Production, off the charts. Accolades and accomplishments, He checks all of those boxes. His 2013 season, he threw for 40 touchdowns and only 10 interceptions, completing 66% of his throws. He won the Heisman Trophy. He won the national championship. If you talk about what he did on the field, there's really not a lot of bad to say
not at all.
Jameis Winston.
Not at all. He was the perennial star during that time for all quarterbacks in the state. There was nobody that was really looking anywhere past Jameis Winston at that time.
And he showed up from day one. I remember where I was when I watched that man play quarterback for the first time against Pitt in week one of the 2013 season. And I'm watching this guy like, this season's going to be something special. I remember at that moment laying a wager on them winning the national championship, and they were nowhere near top ranked at that time. And they went on to win it. It was just that sort of confidence in watching him quarterback that team. He was so good.
Yeah.
That is probably part of the reason why I believe in him the way that I do, because the second he stepped on the field, I saw magic. And then he ruined it from a personal standpoint, and he threw a ton of interceptions. In year two, he threw a lot more picks than in year one, and then continued that trend on into the NFL. At number 6, my final Hurricane on the list. I've got Ken Dorsey.
You better have had Ken Dorsey on this list. If you didn't, you and I were going to fight after the show, young man.
Well, you're going to like what I have to say then, because the slander on Ken Dorsey has gone way too far.
Oh, absolutely.
He's had a ton of first-round talent that played around him, but we don't hold that against other guys. We don't hold that against Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's throwing the ball to Justin Jefferson, Terrace Marshall, and Jamar Chase, and we still laud him as one of the great college quarterbacks ever. Yeah. Ken Dorsey was doing that too, and we sleep on him because he didn't go on to have this great NFL career. He had talent around him, but he made it all work in Miami, and he won a whole lot. His record at Miami, 38-2 as a starter. It just doesn't get a lot better than that.
No, it really doesn't. And not only was he doing a lot of winning, he was willing that team forward time after time after time, game after game after game. And that Miami Hurricanes team was playing against top-notch competition. They weren't playing just a bunch of scrubs all the time. Those were the days where they had to go up against everybody who meant somebody in college football, and he was able to make it work. So it was really good for him.
Ken Dorsey, the greatest game manager in the history of college football. I had to throw a little extra slander just to take you off the pedestal. Number 5 is Mackenzie Milton. KZ picked up right where Dante Culpepper left off. UCF's program has been like a rocket ship ever since KZ took the controls at quarterback. Talent-wise, he's one of the best on this list. Accurate in the short area, deep balls. He's a great leader. He checks every single box. And he's a national champion. 23-0 from 2017 to 2018 as a starting quarterback. Sensational.
Can't do much better than undefeated.
No, you can't. You can't do any better than that. And I would have loved to have seen him close out that 2018 season, but unfortunately, a horrific injury would end that one. But Mackenzie Milton comes in at number 5 for me. Danny Warfel from the Florida Gators in at number 4, Heisman Trophy winner in 1996, 2-time SEC Player of the Year. Warfel could flat out sling it. 114 touchdown passes during his time at Florida. He took Steve Spurrier from a successful, lovable head coach to icon status.
Yes.
It was Danny Warfel and the impact that he had at quarterback in being able to it was Spurrier that implemented the system. It was Danny Warfel that actually went out and executed it, and he did it at a masterful level. He was phenomenal.
I don't think he gets enough credit because he is the reason that Steve Spurrier is an icon in football lore. We've seen what Steve Spurrier has done since. We've seen what Steve Spurrier has done without Danny Warfel, and it's nowhere in comparison to what they had with him as quarterback on that team.
Yeah, he was somebody I thought for sure, and I was young when this happened, but I thought for sure he was going to be a star in the NFL.
Oh, absolutely.
And he was not. Chris Weinke, national champion for Florida State in 1999. He was a Heisman winner in 2000. He appeared in 2 national championship games and was 25 when he joined the Seminoles. So he was basically...
Yeah, he was an old man.
He was like a Sycamore high school player for the Florida State Seminoles. He was older than a lot of the guys that you'll be watching on Sundays in the NFL. So he was kind of like a pro, but I'm not going to hold that against him. He embodied a pro-style quarterback in college, and he did it at a masterful level. He was Excellent. 32 of 36 games he won for the Florida State Seminoles. He still holds records at that school for touchdowns, completions, and yards by a quarterback.
And he was one of those quarterbacks that really helped Florida State put their imprint on college football during a time where college football was raising in popularity around the country. He made the country become FSU fans.
Yeah, and he was a terrific leader in the process. Number 2 on the list, also a Florida State quarterback, Charlie Ward.
All right, you're getting a little extensive with all these Florida State quarterbacks.
Hold on. When I'm done, you can tell me where I'm wrong. Charlie Ward, the man who started it all at FSU, and he did it in a way where nobody was doing it at that time. In 1993, this guy's running all around the football field, rushed for over 500 yards in multiple seasons. He was fantastic. He was sensational. He was a national champion at a school that was not winning national championships. He was a Heisman winner and just one of the most sensational players I've ever seen on a football field. He gets that sort of that salt and that pepper we're talking about with talent.
Yeah.
It's talent that gets him to number 2. He's got the accomplishments to back it up. But I just don't know there are a lot of guys that at their best in college that I would take over Charlie Ward when he was at his best.
And he's another one that I was really hoping was going to have success on the pro level, but his size and his demeanor just didn't really fit once he got out of FSU. But man, was he unstoppable on that field. And he was one of the first ones that really made you chase him. Like Charlie Ward made you chase him around the football field.
Yes, absolutely. Number 1 is Tim Tebow.
Wow. How did that hurt? Did that hurt to put him as number 1?
That didn't hurt at all.
Oh, okay.
I don't hate Tim Tebow. He's not my favorite tight end in the world. But there's no denying what this man was when he was at college. Not only was Tim Tebow great for all of the obvious intangible reasons, he was also really, really good on the football field. He left college with 2,947 rushing yards and astonishing 57 touchdowns. That's 12,232 total yards and 145 touchdowns while in college. Say what you will about him as a pro. Tim Tebow in college was virtually unstoppable.
Oh, yeah.
With the football in his hands. Tim Tebow is the best quarterback in college we've ever seen in this state.
Yeah, I think he deserves that number 1 status. I really do. Whatever we thought he might or might not do once he got to the pro level, you weren't beating the Florida Gators as long as Tim Tebow was there. And you can talk about who he had around him and all that kind of stuff, but he also made a lot of those players around him better. He made them better with how he played, and he willed them to greatness on that team.
And he also kept a lot of them in check and kept their off-field follies from not completely crippling everything that was going on with that Florida program at the time. So I've got Jim Kelly at 10, Bernie Kosar at 9, Dante Culpepper at 8, Jameis Winston at 7, Ken Dorsey at 6, Mackenzie Milton at 5, Danny Werfel at 4, Chris Winkie at 3, Charlie Ward at 2, and Tim Tebow at 1. Give me your biggest complaint with my list.
My biggest complaint is that Ken Dorsey isn't a little bit higher. I understand why he's not, but the way that he performed, and that's just me being a Miami Hurricanes homer, the way he performed those years in Miami was phenomenal. The other thing is I could flip Werfel and Winkie, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Just because of how they produced. I don't want to say they're the same, but I think Werfel made a bigger impact for his team than Winkie did as far as Florida State was concerned.
I think that's fair. I think that's a fair assessment. I think the difference for me was that